Welcome back, friends and listeners, to your favorite true crime podcast, Truth, Lies, and Alibis, by two 911 dispatchers.
Episode 10.
No signs of foul play.
This week, Brittany tells me about a brand new case of a man found deceased and wrapped up, left on the side of the road.
So, I have to tell this story. So, I tell you the story about Emma saying to Nova that she should kill someone.
No,
Okay.
I don't think so.
So I had to share the story because it is kind of related to our podcast in a way. Nova comes home and she's like, Mom, I'm in love. This person's just amazing and wonderful. And like telling me all about this person, right?
Uh-huh.
And she goes, Mom, I'm in love. What do I do? And Emma goes, kill her, and walks away. And I was like, no, let's not do that. 1, 2, Emma, you have been watching too much of my true crime stuff. Like, I try not to watch it around them, but sometimes in the car I'll like listen to stuff if it's not too bad, or like I'm watching Dateline and they come upstairs, sometimes I don't notice, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I was like, oh, Emma, my child, no. This is not what we do.
Opposite of what you want to do.
It was so funny, and because and some people who listen know, Emma's like my sweetest child. My sweetest, most wonderful child. And her saying that, I was like, I'm sorry, what? And I literally said at the same time,
I should pay attention to what you watch.
I was like, is this sweet, innocent act just an act? And at the same time that she said, kill her, I said, run. Because, I was just like jokingly saying run.
Yeah.
And Nova just was like, you guys aren't helpful. And just like walked away.
She's like, how am I supposed to get away with my angst?
Yes, because, being a teenager and falling in love is so hard. And I'm like, well, did you tell her? She's like, no. And I'm like, okay, I don't know what to tell you.
Being that age, you're not going to tell your crush.
Actually, I was the girl who made Valentine for some guy who didn't even know I existed, like a poem, and went up and handed it to him. I was that embarrassing girl. Yeah. So, I actually don't know. Maybe I should have been more like Nova when I was growing up. Anyway, I just had to tell you because I felt like it was murder related. Today's story, I feel like when I read it to you, you're going to feel the same way I did and be like, huh. So, I have to just start off the episode by saying like, this episode might not be as long as our normal episodes just because it's still unfolding and there's not a lot out there because it literally occurred like 4 days ago.
Okay.
There's some stuff, but there's not like a whole novel of stuff like with Nexium or... So, when I tell you that a person is found wrapped in a carpet and plastic, would you categorize that as foul play or no foul play?
I feel like that seems like there was some sort of foul play.
Okay, I'm glad you said that. Let's just dive right in, okay?
Sure.
So while at work the other night, I read an interesting People article titled, Police Say No Signs of Foul Play and Death of Georgia Man Found Wrapped in Carpet and Plastic. Which is why I had to ask you that question.
Did he wrap himself in the carpet and plastic?
Yeah, and then just like threw himself onto the side of the road.
Just rolled for a while.
And he's like, oh, it's comfy in here with this plastic. I'm just gonna lay here for a minute.
I mean, explain, I guess, what you have.
Okay. On March 6th of this year, so 4 days ago from the day we're recording this, in a vacant lot near a scenic highway, and that's a quote, in Baton Rouge at 3:30 a.m., a body was found rolled in a carpet and wrapped in something plastic, like a plastic draping, by a passerby. It was a severely decomposed body, and I mean, it is in Baton Rouge in a carpet, so... The body was determined to be that of 42-year-old Nathan Millard. He was in town for a quick work trip for the construction company he worked for, according to his wife. Reports state that he died of an accidental overdose, but I'm not sure how they decided that.
Okay.
I mean, as we say 100 times, I'm not an expert, but typically when people die of an accidental overdose, they don't wrap themselves up in a carpet, like we stated before, but I don't know, maybe I'm wrong. When asked, Captain Kevin Hines said he could not comment and said, and this is a quote, "We will ask whoever put him there if there was a moment of panic to come forward. We just want to know what happened to him."
So they think that, like, this guy was doing drugs with somebody, there was an overdose, and they panicked.
Yes. And then they rolled him in a carpet and plastic and threw him on the side of the road.
Yeah, it would be interesting as, like, the toxicity report to see, like, what their findings was that makes them think it was accidental versus intentional. Mm-hmm. Like, if...
And, like, what, like you're saying, what made them come to that conclusion? And then also the thought process behind, oh, the person must have just panicked. Because my question is, how do you tell it's an accidental overdose in this situation? Because what if it was an intentional overdose? Like, how do you know the difference? Unless you have some kind of witness or something else that kind of indicates that, right?
Right.
Because to me, it doesn't scream accidental overdose if they're wrapped up and dropped somewhere. It kind of screams like maybe he was overdosed intentionally, or maybe he didn't know how much he was taking of something. Like, I don't know. I couldn't find anything. Like I said, the case is so new. Yeah. If you listeners know something and send us a message, please do. We'll definitely be doing an update on this eventually. But I don't know if he did drugs or was known to do drugs, or maybe he had so much to drink and it had like a bad interaction with whatever he took or what happened. But I would think that either the person would just leave him where he was, or if he was alone, like, he obviously wouldn't have wrapped himself up. Like,
yeah, the implication of him being in the area on a short work trip gives the impression that maybe he didn't know a lot of people there.
Yes.
And so that also leads to, like, you know, found somebody to do drugs with, like whoever his hookup was, and they went to a hotel room or whatever. And then there was, whether it be accidental or intentional overdose, you still disposed of a body.
Yeah, it's odd. The whole thing is odd. The whole way that the article was titled, I was like, this looks interesting. And I clicked it and I read it and I was like, I'm sorry, I'm very confused. The man who discovered the body was driving through the neighborhood at 3:30 in the morning. What was he doing? I don't know. And
maybe he was delivering papers.
Maybe he's one of the only paper boys out there. Happen? I don't think so. Maybe they're still stuck in the day of delivering papers or whatever.
Oops, I'm old.
What else is, maybe he delivers milk. Who knows? I don't know.
I think that's even less likely than a newspaper.
It is. He's a Schwann's delivery man. I'm just kidding. I'm making all of this up because they did not give any information on him yet. But
so was it? I thought it was a scenic highway.
That's what it said. But apparently,
but then it calls it a neighborhood?
Yeah, so it was like off a scenic highway in a neighborhood, it looks like. If I can, I'll pull up the pictures of where they found him. He had his windows down, and he detected and this is a quote, rotting dead animal stench when driving by. And instead of, like a normal person just driving by and being like, oh, that's gross, like there must be a dead animal there or something. Yeah. He's like, I'm going to get out and investigate. And this is a quote.
Maybe he lived in the area.
Maybe.
I feel like that's more like maybe him and a couple
maybe
of
he was driving home from work or wherever.
Like over the past day or whatever, him and his neighbors have been like, man, have you smelling that? Like maybe there's roadkill around here. And so he was like, I don't know, 3:00 in the morning doesn't seem like the best time to go look for that smell. But
he was like, I can't sleep
anyway. Yeah, exactly. I mean, insomnia is a real thing, and I suffer from it, but I'm not going to go drive around at 3:00 in the morning.
Looking for dead things.
No. So maybe he was like, you know what? I can't sleep. I'm going to go look for that smell.
Yeah.
That me and my neighbors have been talking about, because we'll just get rid of this animal. Whoops.
Maybe. He says, and this is a quote, "It's just something I don't think I can ever forget. At first, I thought it was a dead animal, but I didn't see anything." He got out with a flashlight and then he saw the carpet and he says, "At first I thought it was someone throwing out food, and then I saw the feet. That's when I got really scared and my stomach was just turning in knots. I was really terrified because," you're gonna love this, "I've never even seen or found a deceased person."
Most people haven't.
That's what I said. I was like,
I have taken at least a handful, at least 5 calls of people driving down roads believing that they've seen a body on the side of the road because of rolled up trash or whatever on the side of the road. At least 5 in the 8.5, 9 years that I worked. And of those 5, none of them were actually a body. Specifically talking about a call I've taken where somebody was like, there was a rolled up tarp on the side of the road and I know there's a body in there. And it's just a rolled up tarp on the side of the road.
Or it's not even a tarp. It's like something completely different and they were just driving by and they thought they saw something.
Or I've had an elk on the side of the road being called and the deputy got on scene and was like, Yeah, it's a 901 elk.
They're like,
was like,
it's
that's
a
not
dead
a human.
body, but it's an elk.
Yeah.
I will say that the ride-along that I went on with my husband, the day we met, we went to a call. It was really sad. It was a suicidal call, but the girl was still alive. And we're talking to the lady who found her because she found her on her road in a vehicle, didn't know her. She goes on to tell this story about how she owns multiple properties and has found multiple dead bodies on said properties. Yeah, dude.
Yikes.
Yeah. And I was like, one, the true crime expert, the detective in me was like, who'd you kill? But like, that's a little fishy. You found multiple dead bodies. Okay, did you know them? Because I need to know all the details. Please tell me everything. And then another thought, I was like, maybe you should move. Maybe you should stop buying property wherever you're buying these properties and move.
For real.
She was like, yeah, this is the second person I found committing suicide. The other person was already dead. And I was like,
most people, that number is 0.
I mean, I've never found a dead body before. You know, I mean, I always tell Ryan jokingly that we should go out in the woods and search for dead bodies so I can be on Dateline, but that's only because I want to meet Keith Morrison, not because I actually want to find a dead body.
Right.
Nathan Millard was reported missing on February 23rd after leaving Happy's Irish Pub on 3rd Street in downtown Baton Rouge alone the night before, according to a Facebook post by the Texas EquiSearch. He had gone to the pub with a client that he was on a work trip for, so the client he had flown out to meet, and then his body was found approximately 3 miles from this pub. This is the original post from, that's what I said. This is the original post from the Texas EquiSearch. So it says, 42-year-old Nathan Millard was last seen in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, the evening of February 22nd, 2023. Nathan was last seen on video leaving the Courtyard Marriott on 3rd Street and Florida Avenue wearing a black Carhartt sweater, jeans, brown boots, and a black Columbia baseball hat. It is known that Nathan visited Happy's Irish Pub on 3rd Street and Convention Street and is believed to have left the pub on foot at approximately 11:30 p.m. to return to the hotel. His phone and wallet were found discarded several blocks away, but there have been no sightings of Nathan. If you have seen Nathan Millard since his reported disappearance, if you know of his current whereabouts, or if you have any information whatsoever concerning Nathan's parents, please contact the Baton Rouge Police Department or Texas EquiSearch.
So who reported him missing? The client?
Yes. The client, the next morning, he didn't report to a meeting that they had scheduled. So the client called for a welfare check. They went to the motel and they didn't find him there, but they found some of his stuff. Yeah, I'll give you more details. I was going to tell you a little bit about the Texas EquiSearch because they are a search and recovery company that I feel like comes up a lot in different stories. The Texas EquiSearch was started by Tim Miller, who...
Wait, what other... The one... Is it Casey Anthony, right?
I think they were involved with that.
Because they ended up, like, maybe trying to sue her or something because of all the resources they spent?
Yes. And there's been other cases, like, on Dateline that I've heard about them being involved in. So it was founded by Tim Miller, who, his daughter, Laura Miller... Have you ever heard of the Texas Killing Fields? Okay, well, I won't tell you too much because I think we should do that story then sometime. But basically, his daughter was one of the victims in that case. Her name is Laura Miller, and she disappeared a short distance from her home in Texas. And a year later, her body's found. And so her dad founded the company to kind of help people search for missing people because he knows the pain. Texas EquiSearch is a nonprofit volunteer search and recovery organization. It never charges a family or law enforcement entity for its services, and its headquarters are near Houston, Texas. They were originally a horse-mounted search, and today searches include the use of ground searchers, side scan sonar, ground-penetrating radar, boats, aircrafts, drones, and ATVs. And law enforcement agencies across the United States call on them to come help with cases, mostly when they're looking for a missing or murdered victim. Throughout the years, he and the organization have received numerous awards from law enforcement agencies, grateful community groups, and they're all over media. Their families are so thankful for them. They've assisted on thousands of cases throughout the U.S. and abroad, and their hope is to give some form of resolution to the families. And he said, so this is a quote, this is all information from their website, but it says, Tim Miller has dedicated this globally recognized organization to his beloved daughter, Laura. The motto, "Lost is not alone," is the standard by which each search is predicated upon. And it says, our mission, we are committed to providing experienced, organized, and ethical volunteer search efforts for missing persons, utilizing the most suitable and up-to-date technologies and methodologies. The vision is to return those missing back to their loved ones. And then they list like their values, which is integrity, determination, we never give up, compassion, we know how it feels to have a loved one missing, innovation, stewardship, and collaboration. It's a really good organization, and there's a lot of information about it on their website, but they were involved with trying to help with this case, at least in a Facebook post. Their Facebook is really good for like missing persons cases if you're interested in that kind of stuff. So just check it out. After leaving the bar at 11:30, when they refused to serve him more alcohol, so in the stuff that I read, it sounds like they were like, no, we can't serve you anymore.
They cut him off.
Yeah, they cut him off. Nathan Millard can be seen on surveillance video going to a Greyhound where he talked to a security guard who offered him a ride, but he declined. According to the security guard, he didn't appear to be distressed and he left on his own accord. He is last seen on video footage around 4:30 at an unknown business, so approximately 5 hours after he's seen leaving Happy's Irish pub, and he never made it back to the Courtyard Marriott where he had been staying. Like I said before, his wallet and phone were found discarded blocks from the hotel, and police say they were able to track his movements through various footage from that 11:30 to 4:30 in the morning.
Just like stumbling around?
It didn't say exactly what kind of, and I think it's really weird because they're not really releasing a lot, you know? But
yeah,
they're saying, oh, there's no foul play.
Which makes it seem like there's, reasons why they
withhold stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, there's reasons why they would withhold stuff. Obviously, it's an open investigation and there's a whole laundry list of things. But maybe there was something in one of those security camera footages, like him leaving with somebody, like coming across somebody and then them leaving. And like maybe there's multiple interactions that maybe the police feel that.
Yeah. There's stuff that they're just not sharing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or maybe it's all a ruse. Maybe they don't think that there was no foul play. Maybe they think that this other person is responsible, but they want that other person to think that they don't think that there's foul play. So that they say like, oh yeah, I panicked. And they're like, well, actually, joke's on you. We know you killed him.
That could be. Also, when the whole time you were saying that, all I could think about is Friends, but like the reverse, where it's like, we don't want them to know that we know.
I figured it out. You can't pull one over on me.
Like I said, Jessica's basically a detective, so...
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Like I said before, when he didn't arrive at the scheduled meeting with the client he had gone to the pub with, the client reported him as missing. He asked for the welfare check. They couldn't find him, so then he's put into the system as a missing person.
Was the client there with him until he was cut off?
Mm-hmm. It sounds like it. So I'm like, why didn't the client leave with him or make sure he got back? And that's not on them, right? Or maybe did they leave right before? Who knows, right? Or maybe they just both went their separate ways at the same time.
Right.
Or maybe he was like, this guy's drinking too much. This guy. Like, I gotta get out of here.
We're gonna go.
Yeah.
Like that kind of, because when you were first mentioning it, that the client was the one that called for a welfare check, I'm like, well, that's
suspicious.
A little weird to be like, oh, well, this guy's supposed to meet me for a meeting. Can you make sure he's okay? But that makes sense. The fact that he saw him that drunk and was like, he's probably like passed out in his hotel or whatever. I can't get a hold of him. Can you go check on him?
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah. The preliminary autopsy results state, and this is a quote, there is no evidence of internal or external trauma. Captain Kevin Hines told reporters on March 7th that, quote, it does appear that he was left there, that's most likely not where he died. I don't want to go into details on our investigative efforts, but efforts are underway to locate and talk to whoever may have put him there.
They don't think that he was rolled up in a carpet and plastic on the side of the road where he died?
Yeah. Someone just found a carpet on the side of the road and they're like, hey, let me wrap you in this carpet.
He just happened to keel over and die right on that carpet, so they just rolled him up in it since he was on it.
Yeah, they're like, this is convenient.
Oh, look at that.
When reporters spoke to the wife of Nathan Millard, she said she last spoke to him earlier in the day on FaceTime during a basketball game he was attending with that same client who was at the pub with him. And she said, and this is a quote, it's a nightmare I want to wake up from. Which is like heartbreaking, right?
Have they released if he was a known drug user?
I couldn't find anything. That was my question, was like, I'm really confused. People they all have their own capabilities and stuff. So it's very possible that he was this successful business person, but he also did drugs, right? And we don't know what kind of drug he overdosed on. So,
right.
I don't know, was it cocaine? Like, you know what I mean? There's lots of drugs that he could have had in his system. Did maybe he get something laced with fentanyl? Because that happens all the time now.
A lot, yeah.
Yeah.
Scary.
Very scary, especially now because there's so many articles. It scares me as a parent. I'm going to go off on a little rant here. There's articles about how it looks like candy now, and like it scares me so much. We totally talk to our kids about it a lot. I talk to Emma about it so much because some horrible person could be like, here, you want a piece of candy? You know, this world is full of shitty people. Anyway, she also said when she woke up the morning he was reported missing, she instantly knew something wasn't right because he hadn't called or even texted her after the pub, and usually that's what he would do. So she was like, I talked to him at the basketball game. He said he was going out, but he usually would text me or call me and let me know, like, say goodnight, you know. The couple have 5 children altogether. The youngest daughter is 7 years old, and that's their daughter together, and then they each have 2 boys from previous marriages. The last transactions on his credit card were on Thursday morning after his disappearance, so he disappeared on Wednesday, and that Thursday his credit card was used. Surveillance video shows, and this is a quote, a man of a different race using it. However, I didn't see any reports showing the photo they spoke of, which they're talking about releasing it, but I haven't yet seen it. It could be released like right now because this was 4 hours ago when I was doing my research.
Yeah.
But I didn't see anything so far. They're just talking about releasing it. The video footage that I did see that they released is like little screenshots of it, and it's so fuzzy. I'm not even sure how they can confirm it's him, let alone find another person through this footage.
Get a description.
Yeah.
Well, his wallet was found
a couple blocks away.
Blocks from the pub.
Mm-hmm. So whoever either murdered him or whoever he was with when he just died and whoever rolled him up in carpet obviously took his wallet, discarded it somewhere else, or maybe it was discarded near where he died. I don't know. We don't know. And then just took the credit card and used it. Or someone found the credit card.
It could be that. It could be that, right? That, like, whatever the circumstance, like, I can see where the police are coming from, that they don't suspect foul play. Like, maybe this guy wasn't a known drug user, and for some reason, because he was so wasted, like, he was either easily influenced or, again, like you said, it had some bad reaction with the alcohol already in his system. So, like, maybe there was no foul play intended. Mm-hmm. And that's the thing too, is like overdoses, if you get help in a certain amount of time, not all overdose victims died. Yeah, a lot of them survived.
Yep.
So
which is another reason why they hand out free Narcan now.
Yeah. Yes.
So
that's more or less just a side note, but you know, there was that initial panic, and maybe they have a record, and so they're like, well, I have to get rid of this body, and so they ditched the phone and the wallet, and this other person was like, oh, a wallet with a credit card in it, you know.
I'm going to Hooters or something,
or a gas station or wherever the card is used at.
There was a report posted today that stated the Baton Rouge PD planned to release the photo of the male subject. They didn't say if it was the subject with a credit card or if it was someone else, but they said there's an individual that we're looking for and we would like to have conversations with the individual. So we're going to ask the public to assist us in finding this person who we know has information surrounding this particular case. A sergeant said they did say he is not a person of interest at this time, but they'd like to speak to him to collect more information and then see where it goes from there.
I understand why they're being very careful about what they're telling the public, but it is just being like, I just want to know. Just tell me so I can figure it out.
Yes. I was like, can you just like share this picture, please? Or tell me what you know so far? Because just the article title itself, I was like, I'm sorry, what? Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then just reading through it, I was like, is this real? Like, so his oldest son did post about it, and like he went on the media and talked about it and said it wasn't like his dad, but when he was missing, it wasn't like his dad. Mm-hmm. He would never just abandon them. Like, he had children, he had responsibilities, and he was always good at taking care of his responsibilities. So they knew pretty early on that
something happened.
Yes.
Yeah.
So the autopsy, they're still waiting on a toxicology test and some other results to come back. The only information the coroner's office gave was that at this time it doesn't appear to be any signs of foul play. So at this time, it doesn't appear to be a murder. They think it might possibly be an accidental overdose. Here's my question. If you're waiting on the toxicology report, how do you know that?
Yeah, it sounds like it's a speculation based off of like no offensive or defensive wounds. Mm-hmm. There wasn't an altercation.
Yes. Then today, while I'm doing my research, because I started my research 2 days ago, and today another article was posted titled, BRPD clears air around no foul play statement in Nathan Millard investigation. So it says, to clarify, the department stated foul play was pertaining to the way he died, like you just said, not to the entire incident as a whole. He didn't die from blunt force trauma, he didn't die from stabbing, and he didn't die from shooting, said Sergeant McNeely.
I'm a brain genius.
You are a brain genius. But also, like, there can be foul play without signs of foul play to the body.
Which is good that they put out that clarification that, like, everybody was like, what do you mean? You found him rolled up in a carpet. What do you mean there's no foul play?
Some of the comments I read, I was, like, cracking up. People had posted basically some of the things that we said, right? Like, what, he just rolled himself up in the carpet?
Yeah.
Just people were like, how is there no foul play if he's literally found wrapped in a carpet? Yeah.
Somebody's at least disposing of a body, which isn't the opposite of foul play.
They're basically saying that there's no signs that there was any kind of trauma to the body or any outward signs of foul play on the body itself. But police do still want to find the person who dumped his body, because somebody did dump his body, and that person could be charged with something like illegal disposal of human remains or something like that. Or if for some reason this person gave him the drugs or whatever that he accidentally overdosed on, there could be charges related to that. So that's literally all that they have right now, and they're still investigating. But I just have, like, I have so many questions. One of the questions I had, which we kind of already talked about, was why did he leave the bar alone? Who's this client? Have they, like, actually, like, talked to him, seen if maybe he knew what his plans were, maybe if he knew he was going to meet someone or something, you know what I mean? Question I already answered was, does the autopsy show drug use, which we don't know yet because they're still waiting on toxicology report. Then how much did he have to drink is another question I had. And because obviously they cut him off, I wonder if they have that information, because if they cut him off, he was already impaired so much that he probably wasn't in a state where he could make his normal decisions.
I would agree with that. Yes.
Another question which we already asked, does he have a history of drug use? I'd like to know that. Has he ever gone on a work trip and partied this hard before? Like, is that just something he typically does? Who else knew he was there at the pub? Like, I just have so many questions. Also, I am really curious, and I'm sure they'll release it eventually, like, where else he was seen on surveillance footage. So, I don't know. It'll just be interesting to see how the story unfolds and what actually happened, and maybe it'll just come out that it was an accidental overdose and this person rolled him in carpet, or maybe they'll never find out. Who knows? I hope for the family's sake they do. That's got to be heartbreaking.
I specifically want to know more about the carpet and the plastic wrapped around the body, right? Like, there's got to be some sort of forensic evidence on the carpet.
Like, it had to have come from somewhere.
It had to have come from somewhere, right? Like, if they were at somebody's house, then there's going to be, like, maybe pet hair or a human hair or something. And then where'd the plastic come from? Like, not everybody has plastic tarps lying around or plastic sheets. And it is interesting that, didn't you say he worked for a construction company?
Yeah.
So, like, maybe it had something to do with a construction site. I'd be interested to know what they find around that, because I can see the aspect of it being accidental, for sure. An accidental overdose, and then the other person panicking and disposing of a body, which all you're doing is taking a bad situation and making it worse.
Also, don't you watch Forensic Files or Dateline or anything, because you should know, like, if that was your carpet, unless you just, like I said, found it on the side of the road, like you said, there's going to be some DNA evidence or something that links them to it.
Something. I mean, I wonder how long it will take for us to get updates on it. I say that, but what I really mean is, I wonder how long it will take for you to hear updates and then tell me.
You're like, Brittany will tell me eventually.
I'm not going to keep up with it. Let's be real.
I will keep an eye out and let you know.
Somebody else is involved. A dead man didn't wrap himself up and dispose of himself in a scenic neighborhood.
Just like you said before, like when you were saying, I've taken this many calls and not one of them has been a dead body. I've never heard of a story where the dead man rolled himself up and left himself there.
No.
Not once.
No.
So
not a single time.
The likelihood is very low. So I wanted to update you on the Nathan Millard case.
Yeah, it's been a whole week. So I'm sure there's something new.
There is some new developments. As of yesterday, Wednesday, March 15th, I came across an article about the case. A male subject has been arrested that could be linked to the suspicious death of Nathan Millard. 45-year-old Derek Perkins was arrested Monday by Baton Rouge PD. He's accused of probation violation, criminal damage, access device fraud, and unauthorized use of a motor vehicle. Police documents also indicate that Perkins used Millard's debit card at 2 different locations. So remember, they were looking for...
So he's the one that they had on camera?
Yeah. They were looking for that male subject who used his debit card twice. And they think that this is him. He also was seen driving a 2004 Toyota Camry near the vacant lot where Millard's body was found, and this same vehicle was found burned on Monday. Apparently, Perkins had spray painted the vehicle's bumper, removed a bumper sticker, swapped out the license plate in an effort to disguise the vehicle. To which I say, what about the VIN number, you dumbass? I think that's everything. Let me just make sure. Things could have changed in the last 24 hours.
Yeah. They haven't charged him with anything specific for this, like for the murder itself, but just circumstances surrounding it seems.
I think that access fraud might be linked to him using his credit cards, right?
Mm-hmm. But nothing about specifically like assault or...
Nope, nothing yet. But they did set bond at only $14,000, so...
So maybe they're just hoping that he's got some information. The burning of the car is very suspicious.
Yeah, they're not calling him a suspect or a person of interest yet. But I'm like, he had his debit card that he used. And he burned the car, and he was seen in the area. It's all kind of weird to me.
Yeah. Clearly, you're calling him not a person of interest, but clearly he is, because you are interested enough to file these charges and to bring him in and arrest him.
Yeah, and you wanted to talk to him about the debit card.
There's some sort of interest there. It's like okay to call somebody a person of interest. Not a suspect. Sure, that makes sense. Like, you don't actually know what his connection is to the victim other than the fact that he used the card and was seen in the area. All of it's very suspicious, but it doesn't mean that he killed somebody, but he's a person of interest for sure.
And all of it linked together, it's like too much. Like, they really need to look into that. I am just having a hard time with it. Like, I don't know how they know it's an accidental overdose. His body was wrapped up and discarded, and then this guy who used his credit card burned a vehicle that he was seen in the area driving where the body was found. I feel like you said, he is a person of interest. Maybe not a suspect. I mean, I would call him a suspect.
Yeah, I think if he had only used the cards, it'd be less suspicious, but the fact that he went through this trouble to, like, burn a car and, like, try to make it untraceable, that kind of tips the suspicion meter for me.
Yeah, because if he just used the card, or his wallet was found in the street somewhere, right? So he could have just found the wallet and been like, cool, free money. But
exactly. He
was seen in the area of the crime scene. That in itself would make me be like, And then, like you said, the car. It's just weird. I keep saying it, and it baffles me that they're like, oh, there's no foul play. Yes, because even if it's an accidental overdose, people who accidentally overdose all the time wrap themselves up in carpets.
Yeah. Well, perhaps what they mean is they didn't smother him with the rug. That kind of foul play. Like, I don't know. But to me, foul play means that, like, somebody did this. Somebody killed him. Not necessarily that they weren't involved in disposing of the body, and they weren't there when it happened, and there wasn't something they could do. None of that. But that they were responsible for him dying. It could have been an accidental overdose and they just handled the situation extremely poorly. They should have just called for help. But the foul play being like, if cause of death for whatever reason, however they know it was a quote-unquote accidental overdose, I can see them being like, there's no foul play in why he died, not how he got wrapped up in a carpet on the side of the road.
Yeah, but they still haven't released the toxicology report. So how can they call it an accidental overdose if they don't have the toxicology results yet?
Maybe they do, and they're just not letting you know.
Well, they should, because I'm trying to solve this case, damn it.
You need all the information you could get so you can make sure this gets solved. Come
exactly.
on, people!
Thank you for listening. Additional information for each case can be found on our website, truthliesandalibis.buzzsprout.com. New episodes will be uploaded every Monday. Find us on Facebook and Instagram at Truth Lies and Alibis.